Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Greater Columbus Sports Commission's Virtual Sports Report presented by Marathon. I'm Linda Logan, Executive Director of the Greater Columbus Sports Commission, and today I'm your host, and so excited to have our guests here today to talk about the basketball tournament, TBT. Joining us is their founder and CEO, and also one of our local players. So we have Jon Mugar and also Jon Diebler joining us. So Jon, we'll have two Johns, but our founder, let's talk a little bit about the founding of the TBT tournament. Can you hear us, Jon?
I think he's frozen.
Okay, well, Jon Diebler, hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right, we'll get Jon in a minute, but I know you're here in Columbus and certainly representing Carmen's crew today, and just I understand you're a new dad of twins. So how's everything going?
Everything's been well. We've been in the house quarantining, and kind of crazy times right now, but everyone's healthy. The family's doing well. It's been exciting to be home, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing in this tournament.
Well, I know that certainly our Columbus viewers today and all around Ohio, you're certainly well known to all of us for you still hold a lot of records for the Ohio High School Athletic Association, also at Ohio State certainly, and the Big Ten. So really, what drew you to Carmen's crew and the creation of this team? I know has been an effort that seems to be enjoyable for all of you.
Yeah, it honestly was a very easy thing for us, just because most of the guys on our team, well, all the guys on our team really live in Columbus except for Dimitri. Everyone's here in the off season, and that's the beauty of Ohio State basketball and our university and our program is that, it's such a family-oriented program. It started with Coach Mata and is continuing with Coach Holtman. So for us, it was very easy. We're all here in the off season. We all work out together. We play open gym together. So when this tournament started, we weren't involved the first couple of years, but it was something we had talked about, and finally we made the commitment, like, hey, we're going to go all in with this, and we have, and we've been doing it ever since.
Well, I know in doing my homework today to learn a little bit more about you, it was told to me that the chemistry of this team is quite special, and certainly there's talent all across the many teams that are part of this, but I think that was the opinion that was what really brought you all together last year to be the defending champions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the teams in this tournament and the players that are involved. It's pretty incredible to see how it's grown, and each year it gets more competitive. But for us, that's probably our biggest strength is our chemistry on and off the court. We under normal circumstances, I should clarify that we hang out with each other all the time. This summer has been a little weird, but under normal summers, it's our favorite time because everyone's back here in Columbus. We have cookouts together, we play cards together, usually multiple times a week. So it's something that's very easy for us just coming back and playing on the court together because obviously we did it in college, and it's something that we've continued to do in the off season in the summertime.
That's great. I think we all like to hear that. It does look like you're having a great time and having a lot of fun, and winning certainly helps that.
The winning definitely helps, but honestly, this whole tournament has been awesome. This is going to be our 4th year participating, and yes, the best year was when we won, but to get out there and compete with these guys again is just such a great opportunity. It's so fun for us. Our guys love it just because we all had great college experiences. It was some of the best times of our life. Now we're a little older. We all have families now, but we still enjoy going out there and playing together, especially in a competitive game. And I know for a lot of us, we've played against each other overseas, and so it's fun to wear the same jersey again.
Well, I think Jon Mugar is back on the line here. So, Jon, welcome back. I know that you're sequestered here in Columbus, and hopefully your Wi-Fi is working. Talk a little bit about the creation of the tournament and how really this was your brainchild.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That was brought to you by the downtown Hyatt Wi-Fi, which seems to knock me off every time I start an interview. It started as a text message among friends. Myself and friends since 7th grade, Dan Friel, were texting back and forth about 8 years ago now and said, what do you think would happen if you put $50 million down on the table and invited any basketball player or team to come and play for it? Would NBA teams enter? Would college basketball teams enter? Could you really kind of deconstruct the sports landscape? Would LeBron play and put his friends in? And we really didn't know where it would lead, but it was such an interesting idea that it really became something that we couldn't shake. And so on my off days from work, I would go to a coffee shop and work on a document, work on the plan. And it took us about 2 years to launch an iteration of it in 2014. And ESPN noticed shortly thereafter, and it's sort of been off to the races ever since.
I know your background is as a comedy writer, so I'm certain that you found some great humor in all of this, of just the excitement of how it's grown, and also just you must be really proud of your small but mighty team, I might add, that does this day in and day out.
Oh, the team is unbelievable. This is the least fun and funny thing I've ever done in my life, consistently, especially this year. So it's hard to find the humor in it, but our team is so small and nimble and good. Jen Todd, Dan Friel, Jeanette, we've all been together, working together now for 7 years, and we almost don't have to communicate anymore at this point. And I think it's a real testament to the team that we've been able to overcome a challenge as great as this so far and put a plan together to try to make it work.
Well, let's talk about the work that you've done most recently. I know we've all had to pivot during COVID-19, and certainly you are not a stranger to that. I know that we all have had a lot of conversations over the last few months. And talk a little bit about how you did come to this idea of, bringing all the teams together instead of the normal format.
Yeah, we wanted to put on as de-risked of a version of basketball as we could and really give players the confidence that their opponent on the court would have gone through the same measures of testing that they went through. So we're requiring every player to go through 5 consecutive negative tests over an 8-day period. That's first and foremost. And it was really a challenge from day one when it started unfolding in March to see if testing would be available to us. So we created this plan starting in March. We're now on version, I think, 18 of the plan. Linda, you've probably seen all 18 of those versions.
Yeah.
A big part of it is testing, but we know that only gets you maybe 30% of the way there. A huge part is how players are acting prior to the tournament, their vigilance, how they act within the bubble, and then our rules that we created. So once a team starts practicing a single positive test, we'll remove that team from competition. We anticipate that happening quite a bit.
Well, we learned locally that there were a lot of jurisdictions that were involved in it, and tip of the hat to Dr. Roberts here, our city health director, our state health director, that really had to comb through that plan and really give you the A-OK that ultimately happened. And I'm sure you were doing that in multiple jurisdictions around the country. So very, very proud that you selected Columbus, and hopefully we can roll out the red carpet in a very different way this time around.
Well, a testament to you and your team that we went from an idea that was emailed to you, maybe in 10 days later, we got a quote from the governor and an endorsement of that plan from local and state health officials. So that's the power of the commission.
So Jon Diebler, talk a little bit about how you train for something like this, since you all have to be somewhat and have been in quarantine, and how does that change sort of the preparation for Carmen's crew and others, I guess?
Yeah, it's difficult. For me personally, I was lucky when we actually just moved into our house last summer before our kids were born, and we put a treadmill and some free weights in our basement, not knowing that all of this was going to happen. So I was able to stay in somewhat shape during this whole thing, and ironically, all of my neighbors have basketball hoops except me. So I was able to go outside and get some shots up on their hoops. But it's been difficult, honestly. Just obviously in Ohio, they've done a great job, and things have started opening up. And when gyms started opening up, I think guys were very careful about where they train and where they get their strength and conditioning in. But we've all been working out at the same gym for the last 6 or 7 years, and we have a great relationship with the guys who own the gym. And we would go in at times, we'd go in separately, go in at times when there's not a lot of people, and they're doing their part as far as like disinfecting the gym, all the time throughout the day. If someone's done using weights, they're wiping it down, and we're very lucky that we're involved with people who are doing things the right way. But it's been difficult, honestly, just finding a basketball court. We're not allowed, and under normal circumstances, we would go work out at the shop on campus, but we're not allowed in there, obviously, for good reason. And, even local high schools, things that maybe we could get into are kind of closed down right now. But we've been, guys have been taking care of themselves, and you have to be a pro and just kind of handle what you can handle on your own.
So when you talk a little bit about the competition, I know I'd like to talk a little bit about the Elam ending and how important that has been to the game. And maybe, Jon, you could talk a little bit about how the NBA, I think both of us were talking, or all three of us, about how the NBA adapted that for the All-Star game and what our fans should be expecting when they tune in this time.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are already familiar with it, but for those who don't know, it's the setting of a target score at the end of the game. Instead of playing down to triple zeros on the clock, you play to a target score, and the first team to the target score wins. And it debuted to a lot of people at the NBA All-Star game this year, and it got really rave reviews. So what it does is it as Jon could probably attest to, is it creates a much higher pressure environment at the end of the game. And really, it shows you, who the clutch performers are, and it adds a lot of stress to every single possession. And that's like throwing gasoline on the fire in many ways. In our format, it's already like that naturally with the model and being winner take all, with a large sum of money at the end of it. So it seemed like a great fit for us to put in play.
So Jon Diebler, I guess there's that added advantage of trying to win this thing at home. And I know we got to watch you all play against the Red Scare last year here in Columbus, and that was one of the most exciting basketball games that I've ever attended, and then that ending really was part of that.
Yeah, I love the Elam ending, honestly. It's I think, Jon said it best. It just adds more excitement to the game. It requires some strategy on teams' parts, and from a player standpoint, it's funny. Because in the summer, and Jon, you could probably attest this as well. In the summer, when you're playing pickup with your guys, usually you don't have a clock, and you don't play. You're like, hey, we're going to play 20 minutes on the clock, and usually you put a target score. Hey, we're going to play to 9 or to 11 by 2s and 3s. So it honestly just kind of brings you back to those summer pickup games that you're used to playing. I love it. I think it's great. I think more leagues should adopt it. I think it's fun for fans, fun for the players, and like you said, that game last year in Dayton was a lot of fun. Great team, and I know they're back again. two Ohio teams, and we have a lot of respect for them. It just adds a lot more to the game instead of just waiting for the time to run out.
So John M., talk a little bit about the television schedule coming up with ESPN. I know that's something that all fans are looking forward to. Live
Yeah,
sports.
I mean, remarkably, we're almost alone in the sports landscape right now. So it's a different position for us, but we'll have 23 games from July 4 through July 14, and all 23 will be on linear TV. 21 of them will be on the main network, and 2 of them will be on ESPN2. So it's going to get out there pretty widely this year, and I just found out we'll be, I think, in 193 countries as well, live. So I think we haven't really seen basketball played to this level since March 12, and in this country since March 12, and it's a pretty unique position to be the ones to hopefully try to bring it back.
I know there's been some great national articles being written about this tournament. I know I saw one yesterday in the Washington Post, and I think, like you say, people are very, very excited to have live sports again. And I know we have a golf coming up in Columbus, but you certainly are helping us put Columbus back on the sports map.
Yeah, I was just saying to someone else, we could have looked for this venue and this arrangement for 2 years, and we wouldn't have found it. We happened to find it in about 10 days this year. Thanks to our partners that are already here. It's a phenomenal setup for us. Nationwide Arena is going to look awesome, even without fans. Our setup is really great. And then of course, the Hyatt here and the convention center has been really great.
Good, great. Well, I know that I'm seeing that we're getting ready for questions here. So maybe Jen Cartmill, are you ready to field a few questions for us?
Sure, Linda. The first one is for John M. How has the bubble worked so far, and how frequently are players and staff being tested?
We are testing players we're on a different schedule. So staff test roughly every other day. Players have those tests upon arrival, and then they have an isolation period alone in their room. So John D should get ready for some of that alone time with Netflix. And then they test again on day 3, day 4, and day 5, and then they play on day 6. And then if they win, they're going to test again the following day. So they're on their unique schedule. They're on a very aggressive schedule because, of course, basketball is a contact sport. The bubble's working really well so far. We have run into some positive tests, but they're all in a very controlled environment, and everything is as anticipated.
I know that you have some really good health partners here as well.
We do, yeah. I mean, the Ohio Health has been unbelievable. Dr. Tom Hospital, we met him during this whole, 2 months ago. I just reached out blindly to him over email, and he answered the call. He's the PGA Tour medical director, and he's been our medical advisor here as well. So they've been essential in our plan.
That's great.
Our next question is, what does it mean for you that TBT will be the first sports event taking place at Nationwide Arena since March? And why did you decide to host this event in Columbus versus a different city?
Columbus really appealed to us because we have partnerships here with you for one, but also Ohio State, and our defending champion is from here, which added some a nice fit as well. And the other thing too is that it's probably driving distance to as many of our players as possible. And we were facing that decision in April, May, and we didn't really know if players would be comfortable flying at that point, or if there would even be flying at that point. So we wanted to locate somewhere pretty centrally.
Thank you. The next one's for Diebler. Despite no fans in the stands, what is Carmen's crew's attitude to having the chance to defend their title at home, and what can we expect from the team this year?
Yeah, we're definitely motivated. Playing overseas is kind of ironic. No fans in the stands. I'm sure if you ask any player in this tournament who has played overseas, I'm pretty positive most would say they've played a game without fans in the stands at some point in their career, because the fans over there can get pretty rowdy. I've played probably 5 or 6 games without fans because the fans got suspended from the game before. So these are all, you can ask a lot of the overseas guys. They've done it before. So we're excited. We're excited to be here in Columbus. Obviously, it would be better if there were people in the stands just to have our crowd here, but just to get out and play basketball and compete again and hopefully try and defend our title. We're looking forward to it.
For John M., another fun aspect of TBT is that fans can get involved by picking their winning team and getting a small payout if their team wins. Why did your team decide to implement that, and what do you think it adds to the fan experience?
As a sports fan growing up, I was a Boston fan. I grew up in Boston, Red Sox, Patriots, etc. And I was always kind of a little bit put off by success on the field resulting in more money coming out of my pocket. It would often, if my team won a championship, it would often mean there were ticket increases. So we kind of thought about that and thought, wouldn't it be kind of cool if fans were rewarded for our team's performance? And that's really why we implemented that model.
Can you explain how the teams are formed or how they are chosen?
Yeah, for the first time in their career, I think some of these players can choose who they go to war with in a major professional basketball event. That's what really appeals to that model. So it starts with a general manager. That's the focal point of every team. And then that general manager has to connect. Sometimes that GM will be a player or a coach, an assistant coach at a university, but it's someone who's connected to all of those players. Selection process is talent, how good we think the team is, and reliability. I mean, we've been burned many times before on selecting an NBA player who's maybe coming out of the league after 15 years, and he'll either not show up or he'll show up and not play well. So we don't really reach as much as we used to for those big names. We reach for that reliability and chemistry and teamwork.
Great. Well, we don't have any, I'm sorry, Jared Smalley just chimed in with another one. So also for John M., do you think this tournament will serve as a role model for the NBA, NHL, MLS, and other organizations trying to figure out a way to play team sports during a pandemic?
Maybe I would say ask me on July 14. That I can't answer that today, but I think that our model is, as single elimination, is sort of uniquely suited for this environment. So it's if I were running college basketball or something like that, I would really look to alter things massively for this upcoming season and not try to abide by regular season play. I'd sort of try to do a series of one-off tournaments like this, but we'll see how it works, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot by going through it.
Great. Well, maybe as a final, before I toss it back to Linda, you can remind people how to tune in, what the schedule looks like starting tomorrow, and how to follow along on social.
Yeah, sure. We're at the tournament on Twitter, at @the_tournament at Instagram, and you can follow along starting on July 4th. I believe at 3 p.m. we will tip off on ESPN on the main network, and we're going to be running all day from 3 p.m. through, I think, midnight. And then the following day we'll have roughly the same schedule.
And Jon D., how about the Carmen's crew? When do you debut?
We play the 8th. Our first game will be July 8th. I believe it's at 4 p.m. So we're getting ready to check into the hotel tomorrow morning and go through the whole process that John has stated for everyone. So we're looking forward to it, getting excited to get in there and get things rolling.
Is there anything else that perhaps either of you would like to add before we thank our sponsors?
Well, we have great sponsors, I should mention, because they've really enabled us to be here. Puma, Zell, ESPN, being the three that renewed with us this year before all this happened, and they've been nothing but supportive of this whole model, despite all the changes. So I wanted to thank them.
Great. And Jon D., maybe anything to your Columbus fans?
Yeah, I just hope everyone tunes in and is cheering for us from their homes. And I would just like to echo kind of what John said about his team and how good of a job they've done. You know, our guys especially, and I know John has gotten to know a lot of the teams and players on the teams that have been in this tournament for multiple years. You know, him, Jeanette, Dan, Jen, they've done a fantastic job of making this happen, and just we've gotten to know them really well, and they've done a great job of keeping the players, you know, in the loop as far as what their plans were, even, you know, months ago with with the weekly conference calls they had. So you really got to tip your hat to them and how they were able to do this, because they've done about as well as anyone can do given the circumstances.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. I know that typically we try to be impartial here at the Sports Commission, but certainly we're going to be rooting on Carmen's crew and Jon for a very successful tournament for all the TBT teams and staff. So again, thanks to Marathon for really promoting and being part of our virtual sports report. We're going to start doing these once a month, so please join us by looking at our website. Or sign up for our newsletter so you can keep in touch. And just stay safe, everyone, and make sure you tune in for the TBT tournament. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.